I sucked at learning Chinese for like 10 years and got almost nowhere. 可是现在我可以说有点汉语. So what changed? In this video, we're going to be talking about a weird trick that marketers use to try and sell you things and how you can use that to make some serious progress in your language learning. So if you're looking to learn a language but you feel sometimes it's something that other people do, then this video is for you. The big question then is, how do you go about getting those sweet language skills you're after, and what the hell has it got to do with marketing? In marketing, the idea is ultimately to get more people interested in buying your product so you can make more money. Easy, right? Wrong. If someone knocked on my door and told me about an amazing new stairlift that was available in a one-time only offer, then I would tell them to take a hike. Why? Because I'm still pretty awesome at walking upstairs. So what's the problem here? I don't need to use a stairlift, and so that's pretty poor marketing, right? So what is it that marketers do? They have an idea of the kind of person that they're targeting with their ads to make sure that they're relevant to them, and they call this an avatar. And that is why Mark Zuckerberg knows everything about you. And this, my friends, is how you're going to get those sweet, sweet language skills. You are the marketer, and your target audience is also you. Okay, let me explain. Basically, you're probably not yet a successful language learner, but you would like to be. You've got some kind of idea in your head that you're not one of those people who goes around learning multiple languages, so you need to build yourself an avatar. You need to look at that person as a successful language learner, the best version of you that finally learns a second language and gets high fives from people in the street. Okay, maybe just the first one. What is it they do in order to succeed? What is it they do when they first wake up in the morning? What is it they do when they're getting ready for work? What about the commute to work? What are they doing when they're on their break at work? And what do they do when they're on their way home? Their evenings, their spare time, their weekends, what are they reading? What are they listening to? You can go even deeper and think about their fears. What is it they're worried about and what they're doing to try and avoid that? And perhaps even what are they inspired by? How are they trying to reach their goals? What are they doing to get to those goals? Now, if you really want to, you can actually write it down to sort of crystallize it a bit more rather than just having a bit of a think. And by doing this, you have this idealized version of yourself, this avatar that you're not yet, but eventually could be. Now, I'm not into the productivity bros on YouTube, but one thing that does come up a lot is choices. You've built your avatar, but what choices are you making on a daily basis? And how are those choices taking you toward or even away from your goals? Now, I'm gonna jump in here and break the flow a little bit and say, be kind to yourself. If you're working too hard or you've got caring commitments or other stuff going on in your life, then give yourself a break. You're not gonna learn anything if you burn yourself out. There are more important things in our life, like our mental health and our loved ones. But if you're feeling all right, on a day-to-day basis, but maybe you make some excuses and put things off until tomorrow. I'm looking at you, me from 10 years ago. Maybe ask yourself why that is. I'm not here to give you a jolly good talking to, just maybe a friendly reminder about the types of choices we make and how that can affect our language learning. I certainly know that the types of choices I was making 10 years ago were not the ones that were taking me towards learning a second language. But if you look at the day-to-day choices that I was making, what choices was I making to get there? Spoiler alert, none. Or at least not enough. And this isn't necessarily about making your entire life devoted to learning that language right now, because for most of us that isn't even practical. But realistically, knowing what you're like, what is it that you think you can probably do every day over the long term? So what does a good day look like? And on a bad day, what is the minimum that you can commit to and still get something done? So for me and for my Spanish, I have habit stacks. So a job that I have to do normally, like driving to work or walking the dog or doing some chores, every time I do that, I always listen to some Spanish. And so now it doesn't even cross my mind that I wouldn't be listening to something when I'm doing those things. And to do those things, I try and make it easy, so there's no friction. I always have my headphones on me, and it's just quite simple to pop my headphones on and just press play, and straight away I'm getting some input. I try and keep it as highly comprehensible as possible, and the reason for that is if I'm relying only on the audio input, I've got no visual clues in order to make sense of what I'm listening to. So if I keep it easy, I can pick up new words or phrases within the context of what I'm hearing. And the other side of it is there's lots of words, of course, that I already know, but hearing them in a different context helps to reinforce my understanding. If your motivation is an issue for you, and in that particular moment you don't really fancy listening to something for learners of that language, well then maybe try and take some content that you can understand at least some of, but you are interested in listening to, maybe your comprehension is lower, but the motivation will be there to listen to something that you would naturally find interesting anyway. It keeps you motivated, and it's better than not listening to anything if you would have found it boring. So something is better than nothing, right? So if you want some advice from some dude on the internet who hopefully you've subscribed to but have never met, then it's this. I can't go back and change the time that I wasted wanting to speak a second language but not actually getting anywhere. If I could go back, I would make the right choices so that my day-to-day habits reflected my goals. In 5 years from now, you could be anywhere, and you don't know the challenges you would have faced to get there. Two things are certain: you will have grown as a person in response to those challenges, and more importantly, future you will thank you for putting in the effort now to learn a language in the next half decade. But you can't know the culture, the cuisine, the experiences you'll have, or even the fact that by learning a second language, it might even open some doors for you. So help yourself out and start making some choices. My Chinese got better when I said I'm going to read 30 minutes of a graded reader every single day and try and listen to the audio when I'm out and about. And my Spanish started improving when I said I'm going to listen to 2 hours of Spanish every day just when I'm doing the chores or doing the drive to work. Steps towards your goal don't have to be sitting down and studying. Find something you like doing and do more of that. So for me at the minute, I'm not doing any studying. I just have the habit that every day I get some kind of input. Now, of course, if I sat down and did hours and hours of sort of focused learning every single day and I got loads and loads more content, would I learn quicker? Yes, of course I would, because I would get more input. But this is what I'm doing now is sustainable for me. And I quite enjoy it. There's no risk of burnout because I'm just listening to interesting stuff. And like I say, some days, if I'm like, yeah, I have listened to quite a lot of advanced material for learners, well then I just now listen to native content that maybe my comprehension isn't quite as high as it should be in order to access it, but I'm understanding some of it, I'm following along and I'm enjoying it. And make it your own. So currently I'm following this automatic language growth method, and I'm following it just because it fits with what I can fit in at the moment with my lifestyle. I don't have to do any studying, I can just get input as and when I can, and I'm enjoying not having any pressure from trying to speak any Spanish. If you keep getting enough input, and whatever form that takes for you, even if that's sitting down and studying, that's absolutely fine if you enjoy that. Do something every day. There is a compounding effect. You will start to see those results. The more input you get, the more results you're going to see, but you just have to trust in that process and you will get somewhere. And a mistake I made early on with my Spanish was trying to expect I could immerse and just pick up the language without any kind of context for the stuff that I was listening to. If you go too difficult with the things you're listening to, my personal experience is that I didn't really pick up a huge amount of vocabulary. Maybe got a sense of the language, but not much more than that. I think you're better off going for some learner type podcasts that are ideally only in your target language. Pick it up from there and slowly move on to more and more advanced podcasts for learners, eventually making your way to native content.